My name is Hanne van der Iest, and here at University of South Carolina, I'm an instructor at the sociology department. And I have a new development in my Sociology 101 course, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. Like I said, today I'll share a new technique I try to use to foster community online and hopefully do a few other things. This has to do with doing faculty interviews with the faculty of our department. And I'll tell you about it a little bit. And then first, as Angelina was saying, I will tell a little bit about my course to contextualize what the new development really is. I'm currently teaching 5 sections of 101 asynchronous online. I had some help setting this course up. I got help from the Center of Teaching Excellence, and that was super helpful. And I've tried to make some adaptations to make it more digestible for my online students. So the first one you see on screen over here, I include lots of little video lectures. So I try to keep them short as to, not cap out students' attention. Most of them are 5 to 50 minutes long, and I have 3 to 6 of those every week for a total of about 12 hours over the course of a semester. Then it's a 101 course, so I can get away with this. I include lots of multimedia resources, including podcasts, news articles, TED Talks, pop science chapters, and we have a free online textbook. In fact, all of the resources I assign in class are free to make the course as accessible and affordable as possible. And then lastly, one thing I found really helped, because students obviously not only do my course, but a lot of other ones as well, and trying to do a bunch of different asynchronous online courses at the same time, as I try to keep it very structured and predictable, rather than having them do assignments or like a big final and a big midterm. I'm assigning them 4 things that they need to do every week with the same due dates, and they gradually build up their grade for this class week by week. So like I said, the latest development in this course has been a series of short interviews with sociology faculty. So today I will tell you what these interviews are and how I use them in the classroom. I will, that's sort of more of an educator perspective right there. Then I'll show you a little bit of a compilation of interviews, kind of from the student perspective. The interviews tend to run 8 to 11 minutes, so they'll be too long to share one, but I made a 4-minute compilation that I hope to share with you. And I'll tell you about a typical assignment that I attach to these interviews. And then lastly, we'll go back to more of an educator perspective, and we'll talk about the efficacy of including interviews in the classroom. I ran a pilot with 150 of my students, so I'll tell you a little bit about the results. But first, about the interviews. So I kind of started out with a couple of problems, if you will, in my course. Namely, students can read a textbook and they can read a lot of sociology articles, and still by the end of the course walk away with no clear sense of what sociologists really do. So how sociology looks like in practice. So one purpose of including these faculty interviews was to show what is it that sociologists study, and who are sociologists as people, right? Who are these researchers, and what does their day look like, right? Okay, then secondly, Sociology 101 is a catch-all course. It's a core course, which means that I don't have a lot of sociology majors attending this course. It's mostly pre-med students, nursing majors, exercise science majors, and it runs the gamut, right? So these students come to Sociology 101, and it might be their only brush with our department. And I figured it would be a good idea to at least give them a sense of who is there, right? Who is there at our department, and also to give them a sense of like what kind of courses we have on offer in case there is something that would interest them for an elective. So really, it is an opportunity to put some faces and names to a course catalog. And then thirdly, and I'm sure you're all well experienced with the disengagement that can occur when you're doing online courses. So anything I can do to mitigate that, I am in favor of. And I like to think, I'll leave it up to you to judge, but I like to think that we have the interviews feature some quite relevant stories of sociology faculty, also some personal stories that relate to students' experiences, and then obviously something about the courses that people teach. So hopefully I'm providing them with relevant and interesting information. Okay, quickly talk about some of the interview specs. I've had help with setting up these interviews from the Office of Distributed Learning, specifically from Jeff Sword and from Rob Brookett. So they were awesome, came bring by a camera and sound equipment to the sociology department, and we recorded interviews with faculty for 2 days, and these interviews ran about an hour. I've edited them down significantly, 8 to 11 minutes they run right now, but we had a nice chunk of time with each faculty member. And then this was in December 2019, so pre-COVID, and the last year has been about me learning how to edit that together. So at this moment, we have 8 interviews, and we hope to record a few more after COVID. Like I said, they run 8 to 11 minutes, so they're short. And since the semester is 14 weeks, I have 8 interviews. I tend to assign one about every 1 or 2 weeks. So I'll move from that introduction to showing you a sample of these interviews. I kind of wanted to give you a heads up about what you'll find in there because I had to abbreviate them. So I'm going to give you about a minute of a typical introduction for these videos, and that will include a faculty member, Dr. Carla Pfeffer, introducing herself, the beginning tune, introduction, teaching and research interests. So that's the first part. Then the next part, you will see a couple of examples of some of the sociological stories and findings that our faculty members have volunteered. And then after that, a little section with some personal stories that hopefully build some community in our one-on-one classes. And then lastly, some sociological takeaways that our faculty have volunteered. So look out for those 4 components. That's what you're gonna see.
I'm Carla Pfeffer, Director of Women's and Gender Studies and also an Associate Professor of Sociology and Women's and Gender Studies. So some of the courses that I've taught here at the University of South Carolina include sex and gender, qualitative research methods, feminist methodologies and epistemologies, race, gender, class, and sexuality. My research interests largely focus on LGBTQ families, including transgender reproduction, transgender families, and same-sex families. One of my participants talked about that she could count to 100, and her, teacher paraded her around and was like, "Look at the little black girl who can count to 100."
So the first international police organizations were not set up to track down criminals, thieves, people who trade in prostitutes, but to track down political opponents, to track down people who were Democrats.
And what we found is that when the anti-racist used violence, this decreased public support for the anti-racist, but not only that, I think much more detrimentally, it increased support for the white nationalists.
They were thrilled about the fact that she was dating a man. However, they were horrified at the fact that she was dating a black man.
When I was a teenager, my aunt migrated to the United States to do something like what we will call today an au pair kind of program. And then she was basically working 24/7. There was no clear cut, time to have her own space and rest. I remember hearing all these stories over the phone about what was going on and how the United States was. And that got me interested.
I had no idea what I was doing, changed majors 100 times, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing. I took a personality exam.
Finished my degree. A friend of mine gave me a job. I was terrible at that job. So it took me about a month or 2 to realize that I needed to go back to graduate school.
I'm somebody who self-identifies as a queer researcher, and I've been out as a lesbian or as queer self-identified since I was 16.
My mother, in response to her divorce, happened to go back to college. And so I'm also interested. That also explains my interest in that population.
When we trust that others are more altruistic than we typically assume, we tend to beget altruism from that trust.
I think the question is, why are certain groups overprivileged, and how do they use that overprivilege in certain ways to shape society and structures?
If you don't understand how to work with other people, then it makes it hard for you to accomplish anything important either.
But that is to take your research methods classes seriously.
When we talk about those things in sociology, we actually are talking about real life things that matter.
So what I usually do is give students a class participation assignment so that they have an opportunity to comment publicly among other students on what they thought about this interview. I did not want to make this into a very high stakes assignment. We have tests and homeworks and all of that in my course. Mainly, I wanted to just give them an opportunity to reflect a little bit. So a typical assignment that I would assign for this course is something like this on a discussion board. Hi, you just watched an interview with, say, Dr. Andrea Henderson. I'll pick one of the following prompts and write a 3 to 5 sentence response. I say, what was the most interesting to you? What did you learn that you did not yet know? Do you maybe have a personal experience that relates to the research program? Or perhaps what's an important question that could be addressed by the research program? So now kind of back to an educator perspective, what is the value really of assigning these interviews? Does it have any value? I wanted to make sure I had some student feedback before I started including this in my curriculum. So last semester, fall 2020, I had not included these videos yet. This is the first semester I'm doing it. And what I did is I had an extra credit assignment. Students could earn some extra credit if they watched 3 of these videos in full. They were a little longer at the time, so it was about, let's say, half an hour time commitment, and then fill out a survey with both some quantitative questions and some qualitative questions. And I quickly wanted to share the results of, or some of the most important results with you. We'll start with the most important quantitative results, and after that I'll share a few quotes that students mentioned in the qualitative component that were, I think, representative of the sentiments a lot of students voiced. So the first thing, which was very encouraging, is that in this survey, 98% of students mentioned that watching these videos improved their understanding of what it is that sociologists do. So this is one of the things that I had sort of made these interviews for, and make sure that they have a firmer grasp on sociologists' jobs and on their research. And so thankfully this was successful. And secondly, 95% of students mentioned that the videos made them feel that they got to know the sociology department better. So hopefully that indicates that we build a little bit of more of a community, right? They knew who was around. Also very nice, 81% of students indicated that these watching the videos increased the likelihood that they would take another sociology course. Now this is great news for our department. And again, keep in mind this was for extra credit, so I'd expect there to be a little bit more positive reporting, but still these numbers are very encouraging, I think. A lot of students also mentioned in the qualitative component that they weren't even aware that certain electives were around, and were very interested in the courses that these professors had on offer, and they were glad to have a face and a name to put to a course. Almost to student quotes. I wish they did this for every department. Before signing up for classes, I would have loved the opportunity to watch videos like this to get to know the professors better. So I think this indicates that maybe this is an effort that would be nice to try and replicate throughout arts and sciences. I think students get more excited, right, when they know what is on offer, who's around in the department, and yeah, to really get to know our community better. So that's something to keep in mind. Another quote, student mentioned, honestly, after watching these, I'm so much more inclined to take another sociology class in the future, which is, again, great news. I think what it shows you is that this is a tool to build excitement, right, over what is on offer here at USC as well. Last quote, I wish all professors did these videos. It really helps us know what they do here at UofSC. And I think that's kind of key, like, obviously we value teaching very highly, but the University of South Carolina is an R1 research university, and it kind of sets us apart from a lot of the other colleges here in the state, but also countrywide. So to have a tool that shows students what all is going on over here in terms of research, I think is very valuable. So I guess the takeaway from all of this, if I can pick one, at least for me, was that students, departments, and the university potentially may benefit from including these faculty interviews in the online or regular curriculum even for introductory courses. Thank you very much.